Picture this. A friend shrugs off their financial worries and says, it'll work itself out. A year later, they're still in the same spot, still waiting for change. Now picture another friend who swaps one small phrase. Instead of saying, I'll save when I make more, they say, I save first, even if it's just $1. 12 months later, they've built a buffer, invested a little, and sleep easier. The difference between the two? Just a sentence. Words are not harmless background noise. They shape how you think. They guide where your attention goes. And attention decides your choices. This video is about 12 common money phrases that sound casual, but quietly lock you in place. Each has a better replacement. Swap the words, and you'll start swapping your habits too. On the passive path, we've shown how automatic transfers and small identity shifts create lasting wealth. Today we're going one level deeper, matching the exact phrases that sabotage you with replacements that build you. Stay with me. The next phrase you're waiting for might already be sitting in your vocabulary. Let's start with the first trap. I'll save and invest when I make more. It feels logical, money's tight, so you'll start when income rises. But that future never seems to arrive. Expenses grow alongside earnings. The window never opens. Try this instead. I save first, even if it's $1. $1 is small enough that no excuse can kill it. That $1 proves you can act today, not someday. Take Lena, a barista in Espoo. She set up an automatic transfer of $1 each morning. Each Monday, she bumped it up by another dollar. By week 12, she was moving $12 a day without feeling squeezed. That's over $80 a week, more than $300 a month. The first scoop rule makes this automatic. When income lands, scoop a portion immediately into a separate account. Call it Freedom 2035, or whatever makes you smile. The key is that the scoop happens before anything else. Run some simple math. $30 a week, invested at 8% annually, grows into tens of thousands in a decade. Raise comes, match it. If you get 200 more each month, send 100 to your future before you touch the rest. To lock it in, try a 7-day challenge. Day 1, set up a $1 auto transfer. Day 2, rename the account with a future date. Day 3, delete one shopping app from your phone. Day 4, increase the transfer by $1. Day 5, write down your reason for saving on a sticky note. Day 6, replace 10 minutes of scrolling with a short walk. Day 7, review what you built. Now you're not waiting on more, you're practicing with what you have. That's the path that scales. And this leads straight into the next trap, one that hides in plain sight. I deserve it, even if I can't afford it. I deserve it. That phrase feels empowering. A tough week, long hours, stress piling up, and suddenly the new sneakers, the latest phone, or the fancy dinner feels justified. The problem is the second half of the thought. Even if I can't afford it, every swipe of the card for a treat you can't cover today steals from the very future you said you were saving for yesterday. Try swapping it with I scheduled treats after tomorrow's money is safe. Notice the difference. You're not denying yourself. You're not living joyless. You're simply flipping the order. Future money first, fun money second. Take Mark. He used to splurge on sneakers every time stress spiked. He called it motivation, but the bills caught up and motivation turned into regret. He changed one thing. He built a treat budget. 5% of every paycheck went into a separate account. The moment bills and savings were covered, that account refilled. When he bought sneakers from that pot, it felt guilt-free because tomorrow was already secured. Here are 2 tactics that make it real. The first is the 2-tap delay. Add the item to your cart. Instead of checking out, set a reminder for 48 hours later. If you still want it, buy it. If not, you've just dodged a regret. The second is the treat jar. Pick a percent, say 5% of your income. Every payday, move it into a joy-only account. Spend it fully, but never go over. Desire doesn't disappear, but it gets a safe playground. This shift matters, because without it, every I deserve it becomes debt. With it, every treat becomes celebration. And once you can celebrate without guilt, you're ready to face the next phrase. It sounds harmless, almost philosophical. You can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. It's true. None of us carry money into the next life. But that doesn't mean wealth is meaningless. What you build can ripple forward, touching people you may never meet. The better phrase is, I'm building something they won't have to borrow for. Think of Amina. She wasn't wealthy, she didn't earn 6 figures, but she started setting aside $40 a month for her niece's education. She treated it like rent, non-negotiable. 15 years later, that fund covered tuition that her niece would have otherwise borrowed for. One small, consistent act broke a cycle of debt before it started. Legacy doesn't need to be a fortune. It could be a small education fund, a letter of wisdom left with your will, a family conversation where you pass on your habits, not just your assets. Even naming a beneficiary on an account is a form of legacy. It says, this money keeps working when I no longer can. Once a quarter, set a reminder. Family money talk. Share what you're building and why. When money becomes a shared story, not a silent stress, it grows into something bigger than numbers. Your legacy begins with one intentional move today, and that's why the next phrase is so dangerous. People say it all the time when they feel young, busy, or distracted. The phrase is, I'll worry about retirement later. I'll worry about retirement later. Later feels safe. Later feels distant, but later has a way of arriving suddenly. Swap it with future me gets paid today. Picture two coworkers. Both start at the same company. One begins saving at 25. The other waits until 35. They both put in the same total amount over their careers. Yet the early starter finishes with almost double the nest egg. Not because they worked harder, but because time worked harder for them. That's the quiet engine of compounding. Each dollar planted early becomes a worker that recruits more workers. Delay by a decade, and you miss out on an entire generation of growth. Here's a simple way to anchor this. Every time you get paid, imagine a version of yourself 30 years older, sitting across the table. Slide a portion of that paycheck to them. You're feeding that person so they're not left hungry. Tools make this easy. A target date retirement fund adjusts as you age. A simple 3-fund portfolio spreads your risk across global stocks, local bonds, and cash. Automate the transfer so you never have to decide twice. Raise your contribution by 1% every quarter. The small step compounds invisibly, but in 10 years, it's the difference between stress and freedom. Ask yourself, what is my 50-year plan in one sentence? Write it down. Even if it's vague, it will guide you to choices that feed your future. Because if you keep saying later, you're giving compounding less time to work. And if you keep dismissing small amounts, you'll miss the truth in the next trap. It starts with the words, it's only $20. It's only 20 bucks. That phrase is a trap. It treats small amounts as disposable, as if they don't matter. But every river begins as a trickle. $20, repeated, becomes more powerful than you imagine. Change it to, a small stream becomes a river. Here's the math. Put $20 a week into an index fund that grows at 8% annually. In 30 years, that habit turns into well over 100,000. That's the cost of underestimating a small stream. Tuomas, a student in Helsinki, tried something simple. He activated a roundup feature on his bank card. Every purchase rounded to the next dollar, and the spare change swept into an investment account. Over time, refunds, odd cents, and roundups created a boring wealth fund. Years later, the boring account turned out to be his safety net. Small money wins don't look exciting, but they scale without stress. It's easier to find $20 every week than to magically find 10,000 when you need it. Every time you say it's only, you're telling your brain to ignore a seed. Stop ignoring seeds, plant them, and let time do the heavy lifting. Because the truth is, wealth doesn't come down to luck. That's just another phrase people use to excuse staying stuck. The next one sounds like this. Rich people are just lucky. Rich people are just lucky. It sounds comforting. If wealth is luck, then nothing is your fault. But it also leaves you powerless. Swap it with habits stack into outcomes. Luck plays a role in everyone's life. Where you're born, who your parents are, the economy you enter, but look closely at people who build lasting wealth. Again and again, you'll find habits that repeat quietly for years. Maya, a nurse, never earned more than an average salary. She didn't win the lottery. She didn't marry rich. What she did was invest a small slice of every paycheck into broad index funds. She worked some extra shifts and funneled that overtime into paying off her mortgage early. Decade after decade, those two habits, consistent investing and debt reduction, grew into freedom. From the outside, it looked like luck. From the inside, it was discipline repeated. Think of habits like bricks. One budget, one transfer, one paid-off debt, individually small. But stacked together, they build a wall that shields you. People who call it luck are just seeing the wall without noticing the bricks. If you want to copy luck, copy habits, here's a ladder you can climb. First step, track where your money actually goes. Next, automate a weekly transfer into savings or investments. Then focus on killing one high-interest debt. Finally, learn one skill each quarter that raises your earning power. Do that for 3 years straight, and someone will call you lucky too. Habits make outcomes predictable, and the most reliable habit in wealth building begins with a plan. That's why the next dangerous phrase is, I don't need a budget. I don't need a budget. That phrase hides fear. Some people say it because they don't want to face the numbers. Others say it because they think budgets are chains. But the truth is the opposite. A budget is a map. Without it, you wander. With it, you know where you stand and where you're going. Replace it with, my plan on paper makes choices easy. Take Sammy. He dreamed of traveling to Japan. Without a budget, the dream stayed vague. Once he wrote down his income, expenses, and a target savings plan, the path became clear. 10 weeks later, the trip was booked without debt. His budget didn't trap him. It freed him. Start simple. Split your money into 4 lanes. Musts: rent, food, bills. Growth, savings, and investments. Joy, the treats you can afford without guilt. Giving, whatever you want to share. That's it. 4 lanes, no complex spreadsheets required. Add in 2 habits. On payday, sweep every dollar into those lanes on purpose. Once a week, have a stop-spend day. No transactions allowed. You'll be surprised how refreshing one quiet day feels. A plan on paper removes stress from choices. When you know the lane, you don't need to debate every coffee or movie ticket. The decision is already made. Without a plan, money leaks. With a plan, money compounds. And once you see your money clearly, you'll notice the next myth for what it is. People say it casually as if it's universal truth. Everybody has debt. Everybody has debt. That phrase normalizes chains. It suggests owing money is inevitable, like breathing, but it's not. Many live free of consumer debt. Some use debt strategically, but always with intention. Replace it with, I choose which liabilities I carry, and why. Debt is not neutral. Some debt drags you down. Some can be a lever. The difference is choice.
Lee needed a car.
Instead of financing a shiny new one, she bought a reliable used car with cash. The money she would have spent on monthly payments went straight into an index fund. A few years later, her investments were growing while her friends were still paying interest. Here are 3 simple rules. If the debt funds something that gains value or earns income, weigh it carefully. A student loan for a profitable skill or a mortgage within safe limits can be manageable. If the debt funds consumption, a vacation, gadgets, clothes, walk away. The joy fades, but the bill lingers. If the interest rate is higher than what you could reasonably earn investing, pay it off fast. You don't have to carry every burden society hands you. You decide which, if any, to pick up. And that leads to the next phrase, one that tricks countless buyers. It goes like this: if I'm approved, I can afford it. If I'm approved, I can afford it. That's the story lenders want you to believe. Approval means you're profitable to them. It says nothing about whether the payment fits your life. Replace it with the bank's yes is not my yes. A couple in Tampa learned this the hard way. They were approved for a large mortgage. On paper, it looked fine, but when they ran their own numbers, the payment left no room for travel, savings, or even simple weekends out. They stepped back, chose a smaller loan, and kept their freedom intact. Here are 3 tools to guard against this trap. Keep housing costs under 25% of your net income. Keep total debt payments under 36% of your net income. Run a 6-month stress test. Ask, if income dropped by a quarter, could we still pay every bill? Approval is the bank's perspective. Affordability is your reality. Never confuse the two. Because if you do, you risk getting trapped in payments that leave no room for growth. And when you're stuck, it's tempting to dream of a rescue. That's when the next phrase appears. I'm waiting on my big break.
I'm waiting on my big break.
It sounds hopeful. Someday, something outside of you will change everything. But waiting is not a plan. Replace it with I stack small, unfair advantages. Ahmed didn't wait. He added 1 certificate in his field. He reached out to 2 mentors. He volunteered for a project no one else wanted. Each step was small. Together, they created momentum. Within a year, he landed a better role with higher pay. From the outside, it looked like a break. From the inside, it was built. Here's how to create your own momentum. Spend 30 minutes a day practicing one skill that raises your value. Once a month, have coffee with someone outside your usual circle. Ask questions, listen, learn. Every quarter, finish one project you can point to, a report, a website, a design, a product. Waiting is passive, building is active, and building makes luck tilt in your favor. Don't pin your future on a break that may never come. Stack bricks every day until people think you got lucky. Which brings us to the next excuse that keeps people stuck. They say investing is too risky. Investing is too risky. That phrase feels safe. It justifies sitting on cash, but standing still is its own risk. Inflation quietly eats your savings year after year. Replace it with standing still is risk. Jana learned this during she kept her savings in cash, proud of her caution. But each year, prices climbed. Rent rose, groceries cost more, and her dollars stretched less. By the time she realized, her careful saving had lost power. She built a simple plan. First, she kept a small emergency fund in cash. That was her can't-drop money. Then she put long-term money into a broad index fund and let it grow. She set the transfer to automatic and ignored headlines. This separation matters. Your emergency fund keeps you calm when life hits. Your investments grow because they're not touched during storms. Set rules in advance. Choose your contribution date. Choose your amount. Choose your allocation. Then follow them no matter what the news says. Risk isn't just about markets going down. Risk is also about your money, quietly shrinking while you wait. Doing nothing is a decision too, and that leads to the final phrase, the softest one, the one people whisper to themselves, I'll start a business someday. I'll start a business someday. Someday sounds safe. It pushes the dream just far enough away that you don't have to act, but someday never comes. Replace it with, I test one tiny offer this month. Petra had an idea. She enjoyed organizing her work with Notion, so she built a simple template. Instead of waiting, she sold it to 5 friends for a few dollars each. They gave her feedback. She improved it. By month 3, 50 people had paid for it. That tiny test became the seed of a real business. You don't need investors or a perfect plan. You need one offer, one test, one buyer. Here's a path you can follow. Make a list of problems you or your friends complain about. Sketch 3 tiny offers that solve one of those problems. Pick one. Build the simplest version possible in a week. Share it with real people and see if they pay. Don't measure likes, measure conversations and transactions. Every small test teaches you more than endless planning. A real business is built from a stack of these experiments. Stop saying someday. Ship something this month. Now let's gather everything into one card you can carry. The 12 replacements that turn traps into freedom. Here are the 12 replacements, all in one place. I save first, even if it's $1. Treats follow savings. I'm building something they won't have to borrow for. Future me gets paid today. A small stream becomes a river. Habits stack into outcomes. My plan on paper makes choices easy. I choose which liabilities I carry and why. The bank's yes is not my yes. I stack small unfair advantages. Standing still is risk. I test one tiny offer this month. Keep these phrases on a card. Say them until they sound natural. Because the words you repeat become the habits you practice. Comment which one you'll practice this week. Share it with a friend who needs a reset. This is how change spreads, quietly, one phrase at a time, and since new habits stick best with daily action, let's set up a 7-day plan to lock these in. Here's a 7-day phrase flip, bootcamp. Simple, clear, and ready to follow. Day 1, pick your top 3 traps. Write down the replacements beside them. Day 2, set one automatic transfer, even if it's just $1. Day 3, rename one account with a future goal date, like Freedom 20. Day 4, create a treat jar by moving 5% of income into a joy-only account. Day 5, write a 1-page budget with 4 lanes, musts, growth, joy, giving. Day 6, cancel one subscription or fee that no longer serves you. Day 7, ship one tiny offer or list one skill you can sell. By the end of a single week, you won't just think differently. You'll have proof in your accounts, your routines, and your actions. And when you zoom out, 90 days of these small shifts can change your financial path completely. Let's look at 3 short case studies. 3 short paths, 90 days each. The starter begins with nothing. They round up every purchase and funnel the spare change into a savings account. They pick up one weekend shift and send the pay directly into that account too. In 3 months, they have a $500 emergency fund. It's not huge, but it's a shield. The builder carries a credit card with a 19% interest rate. They attack it with every extra dollar. Once the debt is gone, the freed payment is redirected into an index fund. In 90 days, they feel the weight lift, and they have their first investments working for them. The owner has an idea for a small service. They test it with a few clients, charging $99 each. By the end of 3 months, they've served 10 clients, kept their day job, and built a cushion. The side business is now real. Each path looks different, but the common thread is movement. A small habit repeated for 90 days changes the story. And once those stories begin, you need routines to keep them alive. That's where money habits come in, the kind that keep you calm. Money routines build calm. They keep you steady when life tries to pull you off course. On payday, run a checklist, sweep money into savings, cover bills, fund investments, and move a small slice into your joy account. Do it the same way every time, so decisions don't pile up. Each Sunday, take 10 minutes for a money reset. Look at your balances, check your transfers, and adjust nothing unless needed. This short ritual keeps your mind clear. Follow the rule of one. Change only one system each month. One new automation, one new habit. Too many shifts at once create chaos. One shift at a time creates strength. At night, write a 5-minute money log. Note what went well, what slipped, and one thing to repeat tomorrow. These tiny notes keep you conscious without overwhelming you. These routines make your financial life quiet, and that quiet is powerful. Because when stress hits, you'll need that calm to hold the line. So let's look at what happens when life punches you, and how to respond without losing your progress. Life doesn't always play fair. Jobs vanish, bills spike, accidents happen. When that punch lands, the words you choose matter even more. Pause first. Don't panic buy. Don't panic sell. Don't panic borrow. Protect cash. List 3 next steps. Just 3. Call your lender and ask for a lower rate. Sell one item you don't need. Pick up one temporary shift. Simple actions keep you from spiraling. There's a story of a man who lost his job on a Friday. By Monday, he had a short-term contract that kept money flowing. 6 weeks later, he landed a better permanent role. He didn't collapse. He paused, picked 3 moves, and acted. When stress rises, anchor yourself to the replacements you've been practicing. Keep saying, future me gets paid today. Keep saying, standing still is risk. Don't drop them when you need them most. Setbacks are temporary. Systems are permanent. Keep the systems alive and you'll recover faster than you expect. And some systems are worth revisiting, even if you've heard them before. On the passive path, we've already talked about automatic savings and identity statements. Let's return to them briefly and see why they matter more when paired with these phrase replacements. We've talked before on the passive path about automatic savings. We've also explored identity statements, the way you describe yourself shaping your behavior. Here's why they're worth revisiting now. Pairing them with the phrase replacements makes them stronger. Automatic savings alone can feel like a trick. You set it up, forget it, then cancel it when life gets tight. But when you connect it to a phrase like, I save first even if it's $1, it stops being a trick. It becomes part of who you are. Identity statements are powerful on their own. Saying, I'm the kind of person who invests every month sets a standard. But when that identity is paired with the phrase, standing still is risk, the standard carries urgency. It's no longer optional, it's survival. That's why we circle back. Old tools in new contexts gain power. And when you stack them with the 12 phrase flips, they turn into a system that lasts. So let's end by pulling everything into lessons you can apply right away. Not someday, not later, today. Pick one trap and one replacement. Just one. Say it out loud today. Set one automation, even if it's a single dollar moving to savings. Lock it in. Tell one person your plan in one sentence. Speak it so it becomes real outside your head. Give your future self a date and a number. By June next year, I'll have 2,000 saved. By 2035, my investments will cover my rent. The date and number turn hope into a target. You don't need to master all 12 at once. One phrase, one habit, one shift is enough to start momentum, and momentum compounds. 30 days from now, you'll feel lighter. 90 days from now, you'll see proof. A year from now, you'll barely recognize your old patterns. This is how financial freedom is built, one sentence at a time. So let's close with this. Your words are the seeds. Your habits are the soil. Your future is the harvest.